Hey, this is Matt Lear, and you're listening to Her Per Puree.
It says here we should work in teams. I tend to think of myself as a one-man wolf pack.
You are about to enter Information Overload, a worldwide transmission with Her Per Puree's featured Breeder of the Week. Here's your host, Jason Rossi.
I would like to welcome you back to Her Per Puree, a weekly worldwide transmission. I'm your host, Jason Rossi. We are simulcasting on RossiReptiles.com, Buzzsprout, and don't forget to subscribe and download us on iTunes. This week's featured breed of the week proved out one of my favorite and definitely one of the most sought-out morphs in the ball python market. You gotta have it. If not, you'd be like me. We're talking about the GHI. Matt Lear from GHIReptiles.com is this week's special guest. Matt, welcome to Her Per Puree.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Well, Matt, I gotta have it.
Yeah, I gotta have him too.
Awesome. So, seriously, everything seems better with the GHI gene, it seems.
It's a pretty cool gene to work with. It changes patterns, it changes color. It's always throwing surprises out there, and I mean, it's just as far as finding a new morph, it's just a dream come true. It's been a blast so far.
And the combos are just ridiculous. The Gold Blush Mojave, GHI, it's got to be one of my favorites. So, how does it look as an adult?
As an adult, a Mojave GHI, like, most ball morphs, it's not as striking as it is out of the egg, but still a mind-blowing, really dark morph. As a baby, you look at them, and it's almost like they're black and white. And as an adult, they brown out just a little bit, and the white's not a crisp white. It, turns into sort of a yellow color. But still amazing to look at.
I bet, man. So why don't you give our listeners a little background on the GHI?
GHI was a morph that I came across in 2007. A friend of mine, Mike Van Nosteren, owns a company called Strictly Reptiles, which is an import-export wholesale business in Hollywood, Florida. And he would let me come down and go through baby ball shipments. As soon as the baby season would show up. And the very first shipment in 2007 that I went down to unpack, it was maybe 10, 11 o'clock at night, and it was just Mike Van Nosteren's brother, Alex, and myself that were unpacking the shipments. So it was cool not having, all these other guys around that would normally be around, like Amir and Jared Hornstein, and, guys that have the eye to pick these things out. As soon as they see something, it's in a bin for them. And we started unpacking things, and Alex Van Nosteren told me that they'd already opened up a couple bags and they had a couple special snakes put aside. And I went into the ball python room and looked, and there was a box marked extra money. And I looked, and they were completely opaque, but I could see that they were different. They were really, really dark. They looked black. And, I said, hey, Alex, I want to pick these up. Let's call your dad or your brother so I can get a price. And we called his father, and he said, those are going to be more money, and you got to talk to Mike. So we put Mike on a conference call, and I mean, it was really funny because I asked Mike how much they were, and he said $150, and I was just a little shocked. I didn't know if they were, if they were going to be recessive, dominant, or if they were just going to be nothing. And so I sort of blurted out, 150, expecting him to say like $5,000. And he said, all right, if you take both, you can have them for 125 each. So I took them, and, I was really, really happy that I got them. And the very next shipment that came in from the same exporter 3 days later, started opening the bags, that night, and I found another one. And I called Mike up, and I said, hey, I'm going to leave you another $125 for this third one. And that's how I got him.
Awesome. I got to say that another favorite of mine is the lesser GHI. That thing is outstanding.
Yeah, lesser GHI is phenomenal. And as adults, they look just as good as they do as babies. Actually, a couple of them I have look better than they did as babies. And I've made a pastel lesser GHI and a lesser super GHI, and those are pretty exciting to have too.
I wonder what the bell GHI will look like.
Yeah, I don't know. I have dreams about it. I can tell you what it looks like in my dreams.
I can pattern on it, or?
Oh man, I don't know. I mean, I've had the dream a number of times where I have a white snake that has the perfect outline of a GHI pattern. So it's not going to happen, I don't think, but it might have some pattern.
It might look like the albino GHI I see you hit there.
Yeah, I got lucky. I had that hatch, and it was weird when it came out of the egg. It was almost all white. I mean, I was a little disappointed. I said, it's almost a solid white snake with a real faint pattern. And then when it shed, it just popped, and it shed again, and it got even bolder, and it's doing great, eating rat pups and getting big, and it's looking better and better. So that was a real exciting one for me, and hopefully in the next couple of years I can make an albino super GHI and have another cool thing to look at.
That would be nice. I have to say that the Ghost GHI takes the cake on that one, on the recessive. I kind of like that one.
Yeah, that just blew me away too, and that was everything that I expected it to be. Because I sort of compared the GHI to a black pastel, and I look at some of the combos and think that I'm going to get the same sort of thing with the GHI pattern. So I absolutely love ghost black pastels, cinnamons, things like that. And I pictured that would be a GHI pattern with the same sort of colors, and it's exactly what it is. As that animal is growing a bit now, instead of leaning toward, almost like a little orange hue as when it was younger, all the base color on it now is sort of turning silvery gray, so it's really ghosting out quite nice. And I actually have another clutch in the incubator that should be hatching, or should be coming out of the eggs, I'd say, in about a week, and I've got another one in the eggs. That looks really nice, so that'll be it for the ghost stuff this season. But I was lucky enough to hit a couple of them.
But have you bred the GHI to the black pastel or the cinnamon?
I don't have a black pastel, and I have a pewter, and I made a pewter GHI and a sterling GHI.
Ooh.
And they're pretty wild. I have like I've told people before, I have a small collection, and there's a ton of morphs that I don't have. So black pastel, should be something for me to get, but I just don't have one yet.
So what's another gene you'd like to add that you don't have yet?
I'd really like to add vanilla, and
yeah.
I see some of the really cool super vanilla combos that are out there, and I like to incorporate that into, Coral Glow GHI, and just haven't gotten around to pulling the trigger on them. I see some super females up for sale. They're priced fine, I think, around $1,000. So I should probably pick a couple of those up this season and raise them up.
Everything's guaranteed vanilla. You can't beat that.
Yeah, and if I have a GHI, at least I know it's vanilla. And I've gotten a few new morphs this season that I'm happy to be working with. I got a Super Phantom yellow belly male.